The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Brooklyn Chen stepped forward, her worn evacuation coordinator's uniform still dusted with ash from New Jakarta. The holographic display behind her showed the smoking remains of what had been humanity's largest colony world 16 hours ago. "Impossible!" the Vrexian delegate hissed, his crystalline mandibles clicking in disbelief. "Our projections calculated a minimum of 47 hours for complete evacuation. The pyroclastic surge would have reached the settlement zones in 24. You're telling us all 4 million colonists survived?" Brooklyn's jaw tightened. She'd been awake for 63 hours straight, coordinating the largest emergency evacuation in human history. Her eyes were bloodshot, her hands trembled slightly from exhaustion and adrenaline. But her voice remained steady. "Every single one," she said. 4,200,017 souls, including 1,200 births during the evacuation. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien voices, chirps, whistles, guttural growls of disbelief. The Talaxian observers' tentacles writhed in agitation. "The mathematics are impossible. Our civilization has conducted evacuations for 12,000 years. We have refined the science to perfection. Your colony had limited infrastructure, and the supervolcano gave minimal warning. 16 hours and 42 minutes from initial eruption to final transport departure," Carter Rodriguez interrupted, stepping beside Brooklyn. The human logistics commander brought up a data stream, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface with practiced precision. "We had 3 orbital stations, 42 heavy lift transports, and 263 shuttles of various classes. On paper, you're right. It was impossible." The Vrexian delegate's bioluminescent spots pulsed with skepticism. "Then explain how—" "Because you've never seen humans panic organize," Brooklyn said, and despite everything, a fierce pride burned in her chest. "When the seismic warnings hit, we didn't wait for official protocols. Block captains emerged within minutes, neighbors who took charge of their streets. They formed human chains, carried the elderly, organized child groups." Carter pulled up footage, and the council watched in stunned silence. The images showed chaos transforming into coordinated movement, not through top-down control, but through thousands of individual decisions to help. "Our emergency services were overwhelmed in the first 10 minutes, Brooklyn continued, so citizens became emergency services. Doctors set up triage in parking lots. Teachers managed crowds of frightened children. Engineers hot-wired private vehicles and created makeshift transport chains. A retired shuttle pilot, 73 years old, flew 47 runs in 14 hours. The hologram shifted, showing a gray-haired woman with determined eyes guiding civilians aboard an ancient cargo hauler. "Your species operates on individual initiative rather than collective efficiency," the Talaxian observed, confusion evident in its tone. "This should create disorder, not—" "It creates both," Carter said bluntly. "Yes, there was disorder. There were arguments, mistakes, near disasters. 3 transports nearly collided in low orbit because pilots weren't following proper spacing protocols. A loading zone turned into a shoving match until someone's grandmother started yelling and everyone got in line." "Then how—" "Because disorder doesn't mean chaos, and individual initiative doesn't mean selfishness," Brooklyn said. She pulled up another image, a young man carrying 2 children not his own, while a woman helped his wife who was in labor. "That's Marcus Okafor, civil engineer. He spent 11 hours directing traffic at Landing Zone 7, while his own family waited at Zone 3. When asked why he didn't evacuate with them first, he said someone needed to keep the zone running efficiently, and he knew how." Carter added more footage. "This is Dr. Sarah Venkatesen, pediatric surgeon. She was on the first transport list, critical personnel. She gave her seat to a pregnant mother and stayed behind, performing emergency surgeries in a basement shelter until the 11th hour." Statistically illogical, the Vrexian muttered. Self-preservation is fundamental to you, maybe, Brooklyn snapped, exhaustion fraying her diplomatic composure. You want to know the real secret? We didn't just evacuate bodies, we evacuated a community. The kindergarten teachers kept the children calm with songs and games while the world shook apart. Teenagers formed bucket brigades to fight spot fires. A street musician played her violin in the loading zones to keep morale up until the strings snapped. The hologram showed an elderly Asian woman with a battered violin, her fingers bleeding, still playing as crowds moved around her. In hour 14, we hit a critical shortage of medical supplies for the transports, Carter said, his voice rough with emotion. We put out a general call. Within 20 minutes, 17 private clinics had donated everything. One pharmacist drove through a volcanic ash storm to deliver insulin supplies to Landing Zone 1 because he knew diabetic patients would need them. We lost 3 people, Brooklyn said quietly, and the chamber stilled. 3. A volunteer coordinator who went back for stragglers and got caught in a tremor. A pilot whose shuttle malfunctioned on her 48th run. She stayed with her controls long enough to ensure her passengers could emergency jump to a rescue ship, and a child who had an undiagnosed heart condition. The stress was too much. She looked directly at the Vrexian delegate, her eyes hard as steel. You asked how we did the impossible. We did it because when you tell a human something can't be done, especially when lives are at stake, we take it as a challenge. We did it because our instinct isn't to calculate acceptable losses. It's to save everyone. We did it because we're stubborn, reckless, and we refuse to leave our people behind. Carter brought up the final image. 4 million faces looking back at the dying world from the observation decks of orbital stations and transports, many holding hands, some crying, others grimly determined. You've been evacuating populations for 12 millennia, Brooklyn said softly. You've perfected the science, minimized the losses, optimized the procedures, but you've forgotten something we never will. Every single one of those 4 million people has a name, a story, someone who loves them, and we'll break every rule, defy every calculation, and do the impossible before we'll accept that anyone has to be left behind. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Finally, the Talaxian spoke, its voice thoughtful. Perhaps. We have much to learn from humanity's particular brand of impossible. Brooklyn allowed herself a tired smile. We'll send you the after-action report. Fair warning, it breaks about 47 of your efficiency protocols. I suspect, the Vrexian delegate said slowly, that is precisely why it worked. Indeed.